Remember, there's some pretty important information here in the disclaimer. You might want to give the video a quick pause and read it.
I'm sorry. Have we met? I'll start. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, I know who you are. It's all I know, really. And that's the problem. I am your fault. Starline, Eggman, sure, they're part of this, and they'll get theirs. But it really comes down to you. If you had just taken them out, I wouldn't have been made. Hello, my watchers. This is Awake Angel 2001, coming at you with a special personal custom. I've been wanting this one for quite a long time, and with the epic release of the 50th issue of IDW Sonic, I feel it's time to finally unveil Surge the Tenrec. Now, we'll get into the whole big design inspiration behind Surge in a separate video, because I want to get right into her backstory, because this is probably one of the better build-ups of a doppelganger for Sonic that I've ever really seen. So, Surge's origins lie within the 4-issue miniseries Imposter Syndrome, which begins with a cheeky poke at the fourth wall with Dr. Starline mentioning the Sonic cycle, and reminding us about a whole bunch of stuff that he did over the course of the comic, not only in the mainline series, but also in the Bad Guys spin-off. And basically, he pulled the Dr. Gero. Like pretty much all other modern pop culture and action shows, this ties back in some way to Dragon Ball Z. Just like the Super Saiyan thing and the traveling from the future. Now we have a mad scientist trying to get revenge on his enemies by kidnapping a couple of innocents and transforming their bodies against their will into cybernetic killing machines. Dr. Starline basically captured a couple of people, a young Fennec Fox and a teenage Tenrec girl, and he basically used a combination of genetic manipulation, cybernetic enhancement, and good old-fashioned brainwashing and mental conditioning to turn them into the perfect war machines. Basically, the replacements for Sonic and Tails after he, dealt with them. Let's not kid ourselves here. This isn't some cute little, oh, look at the cartoon animals playing Dragon Ball Z. Like some really dark stuff happened here. In fact, I see a little bit of parallels with Doomsday from the Superman comic, in that he didn't just enhance them, he also put them through the ringer. He had them run through obstacle courses and get themselves pummeled, sometimes half to death, where they would have to be literally rebuilt. And he would have to use his hypnotic gauntlet, to which he engineered their minds to be particularly weak against, to wipe away the mental trauma so that they wouldn't turn into a quivering mass before the process was completed. So, in the same way that Doomsday was released onto the harsh environments of Krypton, and whenever he was killed by whatever was out there, whatever was left of him was gathered back, reanimated, and put out to try again until it became an unstoppable killing machine. That's basically what Starline did to these two. In the end, he ended up with the wild card, the egomaniacal and very eager to fight Surge, and Kitsuname, the ever-loyal support, who is also the cool-headed thinker to help rein in the more aggressive Surge. Now, their relationship was pretty rocky at first. I mean, after all, these two people don't actually know each other. All their memories together are engineered by Dr. Starline. Kit is literally programmed, thanks to the code he ripped from Bell's mind, to be loyal to Surge at all costs. But at first, Surge had no real reason to be kind to him. So it was a pretty abusive relationship at first, until Surge was overwhelmed by a giant badnik during an operation, and Kit went basically into a berserker rage to avenge/defend her, only for her to find out that even though she was injured, she wasn't after she got the rubble off of her. Turns out that Dr. Starline also engineered a pretty significant healing factor into the two of them. I guess he did, considering all the things he had put them through before. But the thing is, although he engineered them to be weak to his hypnosis so he could just keep on rebooting them and making them go along with his plan, eventually they started to build up some resistance and had a bit of an existential crisis. Like, Surge started to realize that even though she had such a fervent hatred and desire to defeat Sonic, she had no reason to. She never met him before. She had no reason to fall in line with the ideology of Starline. And Kit, like, he only knew that he was super loyal to her, but again, he didn't know why. So they decided to look up the old doctor's notes and find out what had happened. And once they found out everything that he had put them through, they were angry. They wanted revenge. Except that it turns out that this is something that had happened several times before. When they even tried to look things up, like, about their personal lives, like, who were they? The answer is they don't know. Dr. Starline never bothered to take notes on who they were, because he didn't care. He considered it irrelevant. Like, what they were, who they were before this. Like, think about this. In Dragon Ball Z, who were androids 17 and 18 before Dr. Gero converted them? I mean, we know, based on notes in the, like, put out by Akira Toriyama, I guess, that they were originally a couple of delinquents named Lapis and Lazuli, but what else do we know about them besides that? The answer is, the Doctor didn't care, so we don't get to find out. Like, he truly just stole these two people's lives so that he could use them for his own ends. It's pretty twisted. And so fervent was their rage that eventually they managed to overpower him and managed to turn his Hypno Gauntlet against him. With no pasts of their own, Surge decided that the rest of the world doesn't deserve a future. So she decided to modify Starline's plan to go along with it up to a point, but then to defeat him. After Sonic and Dr. Eggman were taken care of, she would take care of him too, and then she would proceed to use his resources to destroy everything around them. Perhaps this is the same conclusion that 17 and 18 came to in the original timeline, which is why they proceeded to just keep on killing people and randomly whenever they desired in the future Trunks timeline before he went back. Yeah. Eventually, they would fight their enemies. They would take on Dr. Eggman and Metal Sonic, and it would eventually lead up to the final confrontation against Sonic and Tails themselves. Now, I'm gonna focus on Surge this time because she's this is her custom video, but really, this kind of works like not only as a great confrontation between a hero and their dark doppelganger, but also kind of as a meta commentary on criticisms of the comic and superhero comics in general. Like the ultimate question, why doesn't the hero end the villain? Why don't they kill them? You know that if you let them go, they're only going to hurt someone else later on down the line. But then, is it really a hero's place to be judge, jury, and executioner? Sonic isn't an anti-hero, and he's not some edgelord either. You wouldn't expect him to kill Dr. Robotnik or Dr. Starline, or even the Zeddy, any more than you would expect Batman to kill the Joker, or Superman to kill Lex Luthor. It's not their place. Like, when these guys pop up and do bad, they bring them down, they stop them, they make sure they're not an immediate threat, and then they'll let the authorities handle them. That is, assuming that they're not powerful or clever enough to escape on their own. So, yeah, that's the answer that Sonic gave to Surge, and she simply couldn't accept it. Because, like I said, she'd had nothing to live for except for this implanted, fervent hatred for a guy that she didn't even know. And she came to an interesting conclusion. I mean, if she had volunteered for this program, then she probably didn't really have anything good going on in her life anyway. And if Starline had kidnapped her, then no one had come looking for her. So she was probably unloved and unknown. Either way, she felt that she had nothing in the wider world, so what did she owe to it? In the end, she, rather than accept help from Sonic so that she could turn her life around and do anything else, she opted to instead, out of spite, lash out at him one last time, and it led to her supposed death. I mean, like, rocks fall, and she falls into an ambiguous pit of unknown fate. I will eat my hat if this kills her, because we have literally seen her bounce back from worse than this. So, Dr. Starline mentioned that he's the only one that knows how to maintain her cybernetics, but we know she already has a healing factor. So simply falling into a deep hole is enough to kill her, then her cybernetics and healing factor ain't worth bunk. So, Ian Flynn has stated that it was his original intention that issue 50 marks the death of Dr. Starline, but you know, we don't see the corpse, so, you know, in comic book terms, there's a possibility he could come back. But unless he can come up with ideas later, or the fans really demand it and they can write their way around it, we're not going to see Starline anymore. But I sincerely doubt that this is the last we've seen of Surge. All that being said, this isn't a review of the arc. This is a custom video. So let's get ahead to making this actual toy. Oh, one more thing real quick. Check out this cool fan art here. This is a plushie of Dr. Starline and Surge that was in the fan art section of Imposter Syndrome. But this was Imposter Syndrome issue 1, which was kind of Surge's official debut. So that means that this person probably saw the hype stuff, the character's release on Twitter or something, like a pre-release of the art of the character's design and things like that. Saw it and made a plushie and submitted it to the fan art section in time for it to be in the first issue, her debut issue. That's impressive. I'm jealous. That's just really cool. Okay, now let's do my thing. Alright, compared to everything else, actually making the toy isn't gonna take that much time, so let's just get through this for all you guys. The first thing is to thank Corey Sonic Fan once again for coming up with an awesome 3D model of Kit and Surge. So here are the parts printed off of his model, you know, head, hands, and feet as usual. Corey, your model is amazing. And I had actually made this a few weeks ago. I really didn't have any intentions of making her until I finished at least a couple more commissions. But after reading issue 50, I had to get this out there. It was just way too much in the zeitgeist. And the actual base figure that I would use is what's left of that Claudine figure, you know, one of the Monster High Mega Construx figures. As you notice, she has a bit of a Tila crotch going on here. That's because I've already swapped parts out to make other people's customs. So, you know, this is already a little bit of a hodgepodge figure. But yeah, this would be the base. She's not going to have any elbows, but I feel like the arms actually look pretty good for the way a Sonic character goes. So, you know, we're going Jack specific here. Like, we're going to sacrifice some articulation, but the presentation will look a little bit better. Okay, so sculpting mostly required around the torso to make the big poofy pants. I couldn't perfectly replicate the look from the comic book because her pants are supposed to go down past her knees, but, you know, like, unless the pants were specifically sculpted to be that way, I wouldn't actually be able to do that, because I can't sculpt knees like that. So I had to sculpt just above the knee of this Claudine figure. I also made the high waist of the pants up on her torso, which actually does the added benefit of creating a look where it artificially pushes the figure's waist up past the actual waist joint, making the torso look a little bit shorter. You know, because this is a Sonic character, and the torso is supposed to be a little bit proportionally shorter than what the you know, these Mega Construx Monster High figures have, because they're elongated like Barbie dolls. And I'm actually a little bit proud of this. I came up with a clever way to attach her feet to the legs. These Monster High figures have shapely calves, you know, because they're supposed to be based off of fashion dolls. But Sonic characters have really thin, stick-like limbs. So, these are the staffs that come packed with the Tila and Evil Lyn figures. I have a bunch of them left over, because every time I use a Tila or Evil Lyn, they have these things. And I found that if I drill down into the foot, I could stick these things in, and it would actually create a swivel, like an ankle joint. So what I did was I cut off the leg of the Mega Construx figure at just the right height to make the character the right height. And then I cut off the end of these little staffs, drilled a hole into the stump that was left in the leg below the knee joint, and glued that in there to create the legs. And this would also create that what you call the elasticized ankle part of her pants, I guess. It's a little bit longer than it is in the official artwork, but like I said, I'm working with parts that already exist rather than fabricating them from scratch, so that compromises have to be made. But yeah, this does create this cool look where I can have her, you know, I can have her legs coming out of the thighs in the little proper way. I also figured the best way to create her little torn sleeve look on her shoulders without worrying about blocking the shoulders was just use craft foam to make those little tatters so that it would flex out of the way if I had to lift her arm up and it got in the way. So, you know, all for the purpose of you know, not getting too in the way. Oh, by the way, you know, I kind of really like how they would sprinkle in little quotes into her dialogue, like when she says that she does things her way, like, I got my way, my own way. She doesn't even know that she's quoting Crush 40, but she is. It doesn't matter now what happens. Anyone who will tolerate my silly little mannerisms is in this for the end. I also love the you're not even good enough to be my fake. So she's even quoting Shadow, which I kind of love that this is one Sonic doppelganger quoting another Sonic doppelganger at another Sonic doppelganger. That's, oh god, there's so many Sonic doppelgangers out there. Okay, anyway, back to this. So, with all of her parts painted up, all that was left was the final reassembly. And oh, by the way, I made sure to capture the details on the soles of her feet. You see, the description of how her powers work is that she's able to conduct electricity between metal parts that are attached to her body, which is why she has metal studs all over, like her earrings, her wrist bracers, she wears rings on her fingers, and she even has metal elements on her shoes that she's able to conduct electricity through. All for the sake of enhancing her physical abilities and launching attacks. So, yeah, these 2 silver stripes on the soles of her shoes are actually a notable part of her character design. And any official action figures will not be complete unless they have that. Okay, so yeah, that is it. The Surge the Tenrec figure. Yeah, that is some good stuff there. Yeah, like I really wish that I could have found a way to give her better arms, but you know, like I need to save the base figures that I have for commissions, and this is the only real spare I had left over. Plus, I think it really captures the look. You know, like this just creates that skinny, lanky look that she has, and even though it lacks articulation, it's still good for posability. Like she can still pull off the stuff that you need her to do. I think I'm starting to get the whole appeal of the limited articulation thing that they had going on. I also made sure to attach her wrists at just that particular angle so that her rocker hand would look convincing. So yeah, thank you all for coming with me on this journey, and I think I've taken enough of your time today. So this is Wake Angel 2001, signing off.